some of its tires, 3 rims, we understand, or the driver now has 3 tires that have been sort of torn off the truck. So he's got limited mobility. You can see the speed of the chase has been reduced somewhat, and there are at least 4 or 5 DPS vehicles now pursuing. DPS has its Air 1 helicopter involved in this pursuit as well. Again, east of Dallas, Rockwall County. Earlier, we had heard that the chase was on. Well, we're changing streets as the pursuit goes along, but this apparently is a service road for I-30, and again, DPS in pursuit of an 18-wheeler. We don't know, again, what prompted the chase to begin with. We have been hearing over the scanner there's concern about the driver of the truck going through blowing right through some 4-way stops. That's a concern, of course, for public safety in situations like this. We do know that we can see at least one left front tire, or is down to the rim there, and you can see the speed of this chase has been reduced ever since that spike strip was successfully put down on the pavement. We're told now that the chase is pursuing Hunt County along this access road, and I assume that's going to be I-30 right alongside. And as Sky 4 gets a close-up, yeah, we can see that left front tire, or the left front wheel, is down to the rim, and we believe there are some tires on the other side of that truck, maybe 1 or 2 that are gone as well. And police in Greenville are being put on alert as this chase continues to go east of Dallas, again approaching Hunt County. And at this point, with possibly 3 tires gone down to rims, you wonder at this point, how long this 18-wheeler can continue. And now we're getting a good close-up. We can see that, well, we're looking at 2 rims there towards the front end of this 18-wheeler. We're trying to get as much background, checking into the truck, and you can see that's what's on the side there, In Trade Industries. One question we're looking into, is this a stolen truck, perhaps? Is that what started the pursuit? We're not sure of that at this point, but just in the time that we've been watching, it does appear that the speed is gradually reducing, and in fact, you wonder if perhaps this driver is getting ready to stop, or perhaps he'll be forced to do so again because he has been lacking some tires, at least 2 that we can see, and maybe on the other side of that truck he's also down to some rims. Again, it's DPS troopers who've been pursuing. We're not sure if any other of the local law enforcement agencies in that area have joined in this pursuit, but those rims with no tires, as you can see, they're starting to kick up some dust, and he's leaving a trail behind him as this pursuit continues. Perhaps Sky 4 will pull back a little bit. We can find out if the number of vehicles from DPS has increased. Again, this is an access road along I-30 heading east, and that may be the DPS helicopter, Air 1, also keeping an eye on things from an aerial view, while a number of DPS units on the ground also continue this pursuit. The driver at this point would certainly seem to be running out of options, as you can see once again, he's missing at least 2 tires and maybe some more on the other side of that truck. We first got word of this maybe 15 minutes ago. Initially, the pursuit was on, and then after a few minutes of monitoring scanner traffic, we did hear someone say that the spike strip had been successfully deployed, meaning the driver of that big rig drove over the spikes, and that inflicted some significant tire damage, and that has certainly resulted what would appear to be a reduction in the speed of this chase. And again, we're wondering how much farther this big rig will be able to go with missing at least 2 tires. DPS, we're told right now, is restricting traffic on the eastbound lanes, clearing all civilian traffic away from this area. And you can see now, it would appear that there's a DPS vehicle in front of the 18-wheeler, in addition to the 3 or 4 vehicles we've seen directly behind the truck, and some vehicles heading along I-30 as well. So the truck driver pretty much surrounded on all sides at this point. And of course, he can no doubt see the law enforcement vehicles in front of him. He's aware of also the vehicles behind him as well. So at this point, you wonder what he is thinking. Again, we don't know if we're talking about a stolen truck or what exactly prompted this pursuit. We found out about it again maybe 15 minutes ago, maybe 20 minutes now. We had to get our helicopter, Sky 4, in place before we were able to see exactly what's going on. All right, that's the first intersection we've seen so far. Again, DPS able to clear this section of service road along I-30. We're told they've ordered that portion of service road cleared of any civilian traffic. Certainly not a high-speed situation at this point. There's certainly got to be a limit how fast an 18-wheeler can go when you're missing at least 2 tires. You can see he's down to the bare rims there on the front 2 wheels of that 18-wheeler, and there may be one more wheel on the other side of the truck. He's reduced his speed, but showing no inclination at this point that he's actually going to pull over. The DPS vehicles that are trailing and the vehicle also out in front of the truck. At this point, it appears that the strategy may be to simply keep an eye on the truck, keep very close, and not force a situation at this point. Again, they're passing another intersection there. It would appear that a DPS vehicle is in position, keeping civilian traffic away from this situation. We have now been told that this is a stolen truck, so that would go a long way towards explaining what prompted this chase to begin with. The driver now behind the wheel of a stolen big rig, and it certainly would appear that this chase will not be going along too much longer, because again, after the successful deployment of a spike strip, the driver certainly has limited mobility as he continues east of Dallas, probably now into Hunt County. The view we have here is of a service road and access road along I-30. Sean Rabb, we're told, is now on the phone. He's been working his contacts to find out what he can. Sean, what can you tell us at this point?
Hey, Dan Godwin, not sure what you said before I joined, but we've been told this truck is stolen. This big rig is stolen, and we know that at least through Garland, perhaps further back west, this all began. Garland police dropped out as the chase left their city. DPS in pursuit. They did deploy the stop sticks. We believe 3 wheels are hit. 15 are still up and running. So while the speed has slowed, this can continue for some time.
Yeah,
nothing that the driver's doing at the moment to indicate he's about to wave the white flag.
Yes, that is a good point, Sean, that our understanding also that we've heard on our end inside the newsroom is that he has lost 3 tires down to rims on 3 of the wheels. But when you're talking about an 18-wheeler, yes, that means 15 tires remain. So perhaps he can keep going for a while. One thing we've seen very little of is civilian traffic, it would appear. In the time that we've been watching this pursuit, we've seen the big rig, and pretty much all we've seen are DPS vehicles. So they've done a good job of clearing out this stretch of access road along eastbound I-30 of any civilian vehicles. The speed has reduced as we've been watching, but Sean, as you mentioned, certainly does not appear that the driver is ready at this moment to pull over and bring this chase to an end.
Once you get through Rockwall, headed east, you've got Fate, Royce City, and fairly sparse traffic, especially along the service road, the frontage road there, until you get near Greenville. So that's what we're seeing now as this continues.
So your understanding, Sean, perhaps they know that the roadway ahead is in a very rural, lightly populated area. DPS, as we've seen in situations like this before, they're staying in close pursuit, but they're not making any aggressive moves at this point to bring the chase to an end.
That's not like a car or an SUV or pickup truck. It's a big rig. And they're going to try and get this vehicle. They may be in communication with the driver. They're going to try to get to a place where there is really no other traffic around them, if they can, if they are going to make another attempt at some type of high-risk stop. Yeah,
there's always questions that come up when we're watching one of these chases from this angle, and one of them you alluded to, Sean. Does DPS, are they in touch with the driver, as we've seen in the past? Perhaps somehow they figure out who's behind the wheel. They're able to communicate via cell phone. That sometimes happens. You also, of course, have to ask, in a situation like this, is the driver armed? That always has to be, of course, in the front of their minds. We are talking about a stolen truck. They're no doubt trying to find out everything they can about the driver, sometimes by peering inside the cab to try to see what's going on. But there are a lot of questions that come up in situations like this. We did just see a DPS vehicle, apparently a DPS vehicle, speed by, perhaps trying to get in position in front of the big rig. And as Sean pointed out, yeah, this is not simply a passenger car or an SUV. This is a big rig truck, and which calls for special handling, all in and of itself, because it's not the standard kind of chase that we have seen in the past. It's not often that an 18-wheeler is involved in a pursuit like this.
We've had, historically, Dan, we've had at least two others in Dallas involving 18-wheelers, big rigs previously, but none had a trailer on them. And so what we don't know is if this trailer is empty, if it's loaded with cargo. All of that affects the weight of the truck and brings into play other dynamics as DPS attempts to try and stop this guy behind the wheel.
Yeah.
It is the Department of Public Safety. There are state troopers from here to the border. He won't get away. They can ride all day with him.
Yes, indeed, they can. Thank you, Sean Rabb. You are watching now a police pursuit involving, as you can see, this 18-wheeler east of Dallas in Hunt County, the current location, we believe. You're watching Fox 4 News at noon right now. The chase right in the moment in the town of Greenville. And as you can see, the pursuit continues. We've seen that one DPS SUV out in front of the big rig for pretty much the entire time that we've been watching the pursuit. And earlier, when Sky 4 pulled out a bit, we were able to see at least 4 DPS vehicles directly trailing this big rig, and then maybe 2 or 3 or more DPS vehicles along I-30 heading east as this pursuit continues. And this affords us a very good view of the two front left side tires that are gone. The driver of this stolen big rig now down to the bare wheels on the left side of the 18-wheeler. And from what we understand, there's another tire that was gone on the passenger side. So he's down to the bare wheels on 3 of the tires. But as we've been talking about, there are 15 tires remaining. So he is able to keep the 18-wheeler in motion at this point, although the speed of this pursuit has been reduced. And Sean, and as you were talking about, they can certainly follow this truck for a great distance as long as they need to. So no aggressive moves at this point to bring the chase to an end. I believe we still have, not sure if we still have Sean on the phone with us.
Right.
That helicopter, yes.
We are still here, Dan Godwin. Again, we've been told, according to our police sources, this vehicle, this 18-wheeler, is stolen. Again, we don't know what the cargo is, if there's any cargo in the trailer. We believe there's one person in the cab, but don't know for sure. The DPS helicopter is really, I believe the DPS helicopter is trying to look inside the cab, as we are discussing this even, to try and see if it's occupied one time, 2 times, or how the driver's looking. They also want the driver to see the helicopter. They want the driver to see them. So he will know we're right here and we're going to be with you. Mm-hmm. You can see many police units following, but they're going to move into a little more populated area here, and that might, especially at the lunch hour, that could cause some other concerns for law enforcement. Will the driver stop as he approaches a busy intersection there along the frontage road? Those kinds of questions.
Yes,
will come up as he moves into a more populated area. You can see some squad cars along the way as he continues east on the frontage road there.
Yeah, that was something we heard earlier as we were monitoring scanner traffic on this. There was some concern expressed by some folks in law enforcement that the driver earlier was blowing through some 4-way stop signs, creating a significant public safety issue. But recently, as we've been watching this unfold since Sky 4 got there, he's on an access road right along I-30. Thankfully, we have not seen a lot of intersections along this stretch of the frontage road. We've also seen how DPS has successfully so far been able to clear this area of civilian traffic. The vehicles we've been seeing, in addition to this stolen big rig, also the only vehicles we've seen in motion pretty much have been the DPS vehicles, 3 or 4 of them directly trailing that 18-wheeler. There's another law enforcement vehicle right in front of him, and right along I-30 heading east. Also, well, there's one of them. Vehicles from DPS keeping an eye on the situation. In pursuits like this, you often see sometimes other law enforcement agencies getting involved. So far, from what we understand, it's just Department of Public Safety. Sean, I don't know if you've been able to find out if other agencies have joined in this?
So, as the 18-wheeler moved through Garland was part of the chase, but they dropped out as it left their city. DPS has the ability, which some local law enforcement agencies don't, of deploying the stop sticks. And so because of that, DPS taking the lead, they were already in this chase. And again, they have the ability to deploy the stop sticks. Some police departments don't. DPS, of course, with statewide jurisdiction, and they can do whatever they need to do if necessary. It's hard to do. You can't really do a pit maneuver on an 18-wheeler, even at 20 or 30 miles an hour. So it's not like stopping against someone in a car or truck or SUV.
And Sean, Yes. While you were talking, we saw this big rig lose one more tire. You talked about the stop sticks being deployed, and there goes another tire. So we've been keeping track. It would appear that now the driver is down to the wheels on five. Five of the tires are gone, down to the bare wheels. Those spike strips were successfully deployed.
So when you were talking about the DPS vehicle racing ahead of the driver, that's exactly what that trooper was doing, racing ahead to get in position to throw the sticks. And, you know, they'll keep on. If that's the game they have to play, it's going to be jumping rope so they can get all wheels popped. They'll keep on deploying stop sticks along the way, trying to pop all the tires. Then you'll have to, will he stop or will he roll on rim?
Okay, and now we're told that the 18-wheeler is moving into the metropolitan, little more densely populated area of Greenville, and you could see on that freeway overpass the traffic there had come to a stop. There's another good look at the bare wheels, the rims that the driver of this 18-wheeler now is having to contend with. His speed has been reduced, but you can see he does not appear to be in any mood to stop at this point, in spite of the fact that by our count he's lost perhaps 5 tires, but still able to maneuver that truck. We talked about also the other law enforcement agencies that may be involved. That pickup truck that's now right alongside the 18-wheeler, that's a Hunt County Constable. So that's at least one other law enforcement agency involved in the pursuit. Again, heading into the more populated area, the business district of Greenville, from what we understand, we're looking at an access road heading east along I-30 as this pursuit continues. The driver is behind the wheel of a stolen big rig truck. Garland police, as Sean is talking about, were initially involved in this pursuit. They're apparently no longer part of it, but DPS now keeping a close watch with a number of vehicles deployed along with the Hunt County Constable, and we've been seeing from time to time the DPS helicopter also with an aerial view, and that is something that they want the driver to see. They want to make sure the person behind the wheel of this stolen truck realizes that he is surrounded on all sides and has no options. And we're seeing now along I-30 East that darker colored DPS vehicle with a little higher speed. And we've been talking about with Sean how when you see the vehicles, the law enforcement go faster past the 18-wheeler, that's oftentimes they're trying to get in position to lay down another spike strip. So far, that has been successful. The driver down to rims on at least 5 of the wheels. But when you're talking about an 18-wheeler, it may require a number of spike strips to successfully deflate all of the tires and further immobilize this 18-wheeler.
So this is where it could get a little dicey here, Dan, as he's moving into now Greenville proper. And, of course, there's going to be more traffic. You could have folks walking, pedestrian traffic, as well as vehicular traffic here. And this is where it could get a little dicey. We'll have to watch.
Yes, we're seeing from our angle from above, there's a number of off-ramps leading into the central business area of Greenville. So the population, the number of other cars of civilian traffic may be increasing. So this is where things could get a little more complicated. Well, now you can see heading right through a pretty good-sized intersection. Thankfully, all the civilian traffic you can see has come to a stop in the opposite directions. DPS doing a good job so far of keeping civilian traffic away from this situation. But that's certainly something that's in the minds of all the troopers involved. The sooner this chase comes to an end, of course, the better it'll be for public safety. The driver certainly must know that he is not going to successfully elude law enforcement. But as we see in these situations, Sean, oftentimes the vehicle being pursued, whether it's a much smaller vehicle like an SUV or a van or a passenger car, or something really large and unwieldy like an 18-wheeler, the driver sometimes decides just inexplicably to keep things going, even knowing what the outcome is going to be.
Many times, people we've talked to who've been behind the wheel in some of these instances, they talk about the adrenaline racing, their heart beating. They know they should stop, but they've made a decision to run, and they run, and they don't stop. It's like something takes them over. They don't want to give up to police, even though they figure, they know at the end of this, I'm probably going to get caught. But there is something that causes them to continue on. Many people have said that. This is moving again, where it's the middle of the day now, 12:13 or so, 12:14 in Greenville, in Hunt County. And if he gets through Greenville, then the traffic is going to drop dramatically, and he'll keep rolling east, most likely.
And here we see the big rig coming up to what appeared to be another intersection. Another factor, of course, taking a turn with when you're missing at least 5 tires down to rims. That becomes an especially tricky maneuver if you're behind the wheel of a stolen big rig truck. But he was able to execute what looks like a U-turn there, and this pursuit continues. Again, right now, very much a rural area, but they've been approaching or passing through the more populated area of Greenville, but still at this point, open fields. But we are seeing a little bit more now civilian traffic on that section of, if it is still I-30. Yeah. The truck itself on an I-30 service road, and you can see a few more vehicles heading along I-30. One thing DPS has been able to do is greatly reduce the amount of traffic heading eastbound on both this access road and this stretch of I-30. But that big rig truck and the driver behind the wheel of this stolen 18-wheeler still determined to push on in spite of seeing now what looks like an increasing law enforcement presence. Now, okay, you can see from Sky 4, the service road has ended. The driver has run out of road. The vehicle has come to a stop. Those DPS personnel now in position with, you can see, guns drawn. Not sure if they're now trying to communicate directly with the big rig driver, but they are in position behind the 18-wheeler. Maybe Sky 4 can pull out just a bit, and we can see how many vehicles DPS has in position. We're counting 6, 7, 8, at least 8 DPS personnel. We earlier saw a Hunt County constable also involved in the chase. Everyone we're seeing from DPS with weapons drawn. We wouldn't be at all surprised if they're now trying to communicate, get some orders to this driver to exit the vehicle. Hands in plain sight, no sudden moves. All right, now Sky 4 is, now you can see that just over the time that we've been following this, maybe the last 30 minutes, the number of law enforcement vehicles, mostly DPS, has increased considerably. And you can see where that stretch of access road along I-30 comes to a sudden end. Do they have some information now that whoever is inside that truck, they've made the
here comes the device. Now, here comes the SWAT vehicle.
Yeah.
Here comes the SWAT vehicle now. They are holding, these two officers are holding something there. That was a weapon perhaps they had on the truck. Okay, so here we're going to see what's going to happen now.
Yeah.
They're pulling up side by side, and perhaps, Dan, they are going to try to look in the truck to see, is the driver unconscious? Has he inflicted some wound on himself?
Mm-hmm.
So now we see it appears that the officer who was standing there had some kind of device. It's not a gun, I don't believe.
Yeah.
Some sort of device in his hand. And you can see him there now, Dan, on the pavement doing something.
A very good and protected view inside the cab. Okay, and
Now,
as you can see, the
okay,
SWAT...
they're moving. The SWAT vehicle's moving. And remember, there is a sleeping quarters there behind the front seat, so that's possible. There is something.
Now, is there a sign of... Okay.
Is that, well, I see something or someone in the passenger seat.
Right. A
And
form of some kind.
That could be the dog
inside.
that people are referencing.
Yeah. Right. Something.
It's a dog or a person. It's in the passenger seat.
Yeah.
And now it appears that's the side that well, let's see if that's the side they're going to or if they're just going to back up and turn around. The Hunt County
armored vehicle. We did see a number of SWAT officers climb in what looked like climbing in the back of that vehicle. Okay.
So they're not going anywhere now, that's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So we've got, again, based on that does look like it is a dog.
I believe that is a dog. Oh, he shot through the...
All right.
The dog is okay. We can see the dog.
Right.
Is moving around.
Okay. SWAT officer just fired, as you can see, into the windshield. Now we can get a better view of the dog. The dog is okay.
So what we're going to find out is if he was firing tear gas in there or live ammo. We'll learn, Dan Godwin. But they wasted no time in doing that. It was after they saw what they needed to see, or perhaps whatever they were trying to do when they pulled alongside the driver's side window, then they pulled the armored vehicle nose to nose, and he popped up and fired one time. And you can see, I believe it is a dog in the passenger seat. The dog moving around does appear to be nervous, but okay.
Mobile at this point. And yeah, and you talk about, given the size of the hole in the windshield, a canister perhaps big enough to be a tear gas canister. We're just watching it.
Could be, but I'm not seeing what I would deem to be smoke filling up the cab.
Right.
And now they're getting ready to come out of the back of this vehicle. And we're going to see if they storm the cab of that truck now. And this has been going on, since, we're 2 hours into this, since it probably began in the 11 o'clock hour down in Kaufman County.
Okay.
Here he comes again.
All right.
That's the second shot.
Second shot through the windshield. Again, if that's okay, now we can make out what looks like a driver, maybe
someone moving,
was maybe in the sleeping quarters.
I think you can see the smoke now, maybe, perhaps. Here they come. Somebody's coming out the door. Door's open.
All right. Looks like, well, we can see the dog has stepped out. Now, did the driver come out first?
The dog is out.
Dog. Okay.
And there could... The dog is out. There's the driver. I believe someone else is out. Not yet.
All right. Okay.
They've rushed him, and they're going to take him down to the ground.
Okay.
And make sure there's only one person in there. So we know that was 2 canisters of tear gas that went through the windshield.
Remarkable.
At least the second one did what the first one didn't do, apparently.
Okay. As you say, they made sure there's no other people or no other occupants of that cab. The driver down, as you can see, and a SWAT officer able to restrain the dog. And the cab has been now thoroughly checked out. Again, presumably tear gas shot through the windshield. And
wonder if it's his dog or if it was the dog that belonged to the owner of the truck. And when the truck was stolen, the dog was stolen with it, because perhaps he was left inside while the owner went to a restroom or something.
This 18-wheeler was on a cross-country trip from Yuma, Arizona to Maryland. No scheduled stops in Texas, according to the trucking company. The truck, though, was reported stolen at some point, spotted in Kaufman. A police chase ensued through Garland, part of Dallas County. It came to an end in Hunt County on the outskirts of Greenville along an eastbound I-30 access road. And as you can see, the driver now, as Sky 4 maneuvers around these trees, the driver now on the ground,